Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon. Sit on the ground. There is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans. For thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. Take the millstone and grind meal. Uncover thy locks, make bare the leg, uncover the thigh, pass over the rivers. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea, thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man. As for our Redeemer, Yahweh of hosts is his name, the Holy One of Israel. Sit thou silent, and get thee into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called the Lady of Kingdoms. I was wroth with my people. I have polluted mine inheritance, and given them into thine hand. Thou didst show them no mercy. Upon the ancient hast thou very heavily laid thy yoke. And thou sayest, I shall be a lady forever, so that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst remember the latter end of it. Therefore, hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures, that dwellest carelessly, that sayest in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. But these two things shall come to thee in a moment, in one day, the loss of children and widowhood. They shall come upon thee in their perfection, for the multitude of thy sorceries, and for the great abundance of thine enchantments. For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness, thou hast said, none seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge, it hath perverted thee. And thou hast said in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. Therefore shall evil come upon thee, thou shalt not know from whence it riseth, and mischief shall fall upon thee, thou shalt not be able to put it off. And desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know. Stand now with thine enchantments, and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. If so be thou shalt be able to profit, if so be thou mayest prevail. Thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators stand up, and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. Behold, they shall be as stubble. The fire shall burn them. They shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame. There shall not be a coal to warm at, nor fire to sit before it. Thus shall they be unto thee with whom thou hast labored, even thy merchants from thy youth. They shall wander every one to his quarter. None shall save thee.
Some pretty wild stuff is taking place over in Iran. Yesterday, across multiple different major cities in the country, civilians gathered together to burn statues in what appears to be a giant ritual, or basically a message that they are trying to send to Israel and other countries across the Middle East. These statues that they are burning here are supposed to represent a biblical figure known as Baal, and more specifically Moloch, which, for those of you guys that are not kept up with biblical text, basically Moloch was a satanic figure from biblical times who was also a Canaanite, and he was a satanic figure that was directly involved with child sacrifice, where people would actually go up and burn their children alive to sacrifice to the satanic god, and in return he was supposed to help them grow their agriculture and also bring storms and rain to the land. Now, of course, he was a Canaanite, which means that he was a direct enemy of God if you guys go based off the regular Bible text and scripture. And you guys can see in this video here, there is multiple different videos showing the Iranians actually burning the statue down, and this is due to the fact And one thing that you guys will notice about this is on top of this figure being a direct reference to Baal and Moloch, you'll also see that they put the Star of David 666, and in some of these statues that they actually burned down in the different cities across Iran, they also put pictures of Donald Trump, Jeffrey Epstein, and the Israeli flag. And this is because if you guys are not kept up with the newly released Epstein files that revealed tons of insane information, you would know that Epstein and all of the elites over in Israel that are basically pulling the strings around the world actually worship this satanic figure. Obviously, the Star of David is literally a direct reference to the six-sided star that is directly in reference to the Star of David and the satanic beings, along with a lot of satanic rituals. But yeah, you guys can see that these videos are absolutely insane because these people literally came together. You can see the Israel flag and some of the pictures of Donald Trump over on the bottom, and they literally spray gasoline all over these statues and all just go together and watch them burn. And I'm pretty sure this is Iran's way of defying the state of Israel, all of the terror and stuff that they have caused over in the Middle East. And now that we know that Epstein and a lot of the Israelis and people connected to that elite pedophile ring, who obviously do satanic rituals, worship this god Baal because it's directly referenced many times in the newly released Epstein emails, they are now burning these statues because they realize how satanic and connected to evil they actually are, which I think is pretty insane. It's very interesting to me as well that over in the Middle East, after the Epstein files were released, they are now revolting and doing acts of defiance like this. But over in the West, in Mexico, the United States, Canada, and all the Western countries, they literally have done nothing. It's almost like the people are just so complacent that they're really not going to do anything about it or revolt or send any messages their way. But over in Iran and other countries in the Middle East, they are actively showing their acts of defiance by burning these statues, which are satanic. The only piece of information I'm not really sure about is why these statues were there in the first place. I'm not sure if Iranians maybe thought they had different meanings up until recently when they saw that Epstein was directly connected to Moloch and Baal, and they were actively sacrificing children to these satanic beings. But if you guys have any thoughts or theories, let me know down in the comments below. I just think it's absolutely insane. But you can see here is another image as well that showcases a little bit more clearly what is on this. So you can see it is a direct 1-to-1 ratio of what the satanic being Baal and Moloch actually looked like, where it was a bullhead. It has the six-sided star that is directly referenced with Israel's flag. They have a picture of Donald Trump, who is obviously connected to the Epstein files and connected to the satanic pedophile ring in some way. And they also put the United States flag as well, since if you've done your research, you would know that the United States is directly allied with Israel. It's basically the same thing. We basically send our taxes and do everything for Israel to begin with. So they are connecting all of this. They also put another six-pointed star along with 666, which is satanic subliminal messaging. And yeah, it's just pretty wild seeing these videos. There's many different angles and a lot of footage. You guys can go and find it yourself. There was two different statues that were very identical. They ended up burning in these acts of defiance and revolts yesterday. And I'm sure if there is any more statues across any of the other major cities in Iran, they're probably going to burn those as well. But it's pretty wild that all of the civilians gathered together. This basically shows that they are behind Christianity and Islam, and they are trying to defy all the satanic power and acts that unfortunately has a grip over this world. So let me know what you guys. They're probably going to burn those as well. But it's pretty wild that all of the civilians gathered together. This basically shows that they are behind Christianity and Islam, and they are trying to defy all the satanic power and acts that unfortunately has a grip over this world. So let me know what you. They're probably going to burn those as well. But it's pretty wild that all of the civilians gathered together. This basically shows that they are behind Christianity and Islam, and they are trying to defy all the satanic power and acts that unfortunately has a grip over this world. So let me know what you guys.
Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahweh Shai, Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahweh Shai, Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahweh Shai, Barakatha Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, Ba Racha HaKodash, Kol Thapa Arath, Hawad Wahaloyim, Ratwatham Yadla, Allahayanawa, Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, Ba Racha HaKodash. And what I just said in the Lashon Kodash being the ancient Paleo-Hebrew, or in other words, the true biblical Hebrew for holy tongue or language. And what I just said is, all glory, honor, and praises abundantly and continuously to our power, Yahweh, the true name of our Heavenly Father, who the world ignorantly and incorrectly calls God, and the name of his only begotten Son, our Savior, our Messiah, our Deliverer, Yahweh Shai, HaMashiach, who the world ignorantly and incorrectly calls Jesus Christ, in or in other words through the Holy Spirit. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Much peace, love, and respect to the brothers teaching and pushing this truth out the four corners of the earth. To the hopeful elect, the 144,000 and the 1/3, as well as the rest of the elect scattered abroad amongst the heathen nations to the four corners of the earth, east, north, south, and west. To you I say, Shalom. This is your brother Ra'ib Tazadakwa coming back at you again, all through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, with another lesson. Yahweh Ratizah is going to be edifying and encouraging for you Achim, brothers, and any Achwath, sisters, that may be listening and or watching. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is give the fair use disclaimer. I don't know where the original clip is coming from, but I'm borrowing the clip off of Elder Apostle Tahara's page. So fair use is allowed under U.S. law for educational commentary, criticism purposes, and the like. That's of course what we're using the clip for. I'm not profiting from it in any way, shape, fashion, or form. And again, I'm borrowing it off of Elder Apostle Tahara's page. I don't know who the originator is. Maybe you can make it out by looking at the clip, but I couldn't see it anywhere. But the title off of Elder Apostle Tahara's page is, and she, referring to America, Babylon the Great, America, Babylon the Great, referred to as the daughter of Babylon, the virgin daughter of Babylon in the opening precept passage. That's prophetic. That's a prophetic title for America, Babylon the Great, as well as the glory of kingdoms, America, Babylon the Great, the land of the Chaldeans. That's all talking about America, Babylon the Great. Okay, the she is America, Babylon the Great shall be utterly burned with fire. Okay, and that's all throughout the scriptures, many places. 2nd Ezra 16 and Revelation 18 come to mind off the top of my head. Also in Isaiah 13 talks about destroying the whole land. But that Revelation 18 links up very, very directly, very, very closely with Isaiah 47. Okay, we may even touch on the Revelation 18 because Revelation 18 and Isaiah 47 are very, very directly linked. Okay, it's very, very similar wording in those two chapters. All right. So in Elder Apostle Tahara's YouTube page, his YouTube page is and I'm just letting this heathen pass me here. Elder Apostle Tahara's YouTube page is what is the 666 Mark II, and I think it says GMS after that. Let me just check and see. So you can subscribe to it. GMS Truth. All right, there you go, and that's the Elder Apostle's page that I was borrowing this video from. The second thing, so fair use notice is given, fair use is allowed. The second thing I'm going to say is that this is part 16 and an ongoing lesson series. The lesson series you see on the screen right now, America, the most hypocritical nation ever. That lesson series there, I just wrapped up last night, and it has 6 parts. The 6th part, part 5, was this past week's live stream. You see right there at the top. And then part 6, I have not yet uploaded. Yahweh is I'll upload that and premiere it tomorrow before I upload this one. Okay, and in that lesson series there, obviously from the title, one of the main points that was being made, or the main highlights of that lesson series, is the hypocrisy of America, Babylon the Great. But when you say that, a synonym or an identical title, in other words, I'm just stumbling over how to put it, but an equivalent way to say that, I could have easily made the title, instead of America, the most hypocritical nation ever, I could have easily said Esau Edom, the most hypocritical nation ever, because America is synonymous with Esau Edom in this context, because the man who's in control of America, Babylon the Great, is Esau Edom. And the reason why America is the most hypocritical nation ever is because Esau Edom is the man in power here. Okay, so that was the focus of parts 1, 2, and 3. But in parts 4, 5, and 6, the focus somewhat shifted, although we still continue to touch on that and highlight that. Okay, that ran throughout all of the parts. But in parts 4, 5, and 6, the focus began to shift towards how the cause and the effect that led to the flood, which was the first death, the cause of it and the effect, the cause and the effect which led to the first death, which was the flood. Okay, the cause of it and the cause and the effect, let me put it this way, the effect and the cause of the effect which led to the first death, which is the flood. All right, those conditions, that exact same cause and that exact same effect is here today, right? The exact same effect and cause of the effect that led to the first death, okay, which was the flood, is present today. And that's in accordance with Matthew 24, Luke 21, and Mark 13, that tells you that as it was in the days of Noah, or referring to Noah, so shall it be in the days of the coming of the Son of Man. Okay, so right before Yahushua Mashiach, the Son of Man, the only begotten Son, the Messiah, right before he returns, it's going to be just like it was during the time of Noah. And that's exactly the case. And so that was the focus of the second three parts. That was the main focus. Okay, we continue to highlight their hypocrisy all throughout, but I brought that to the forefront through the Spirit of Yahweh Shemashah, how that the conditions and the cause of the conditions themselves and the cause of the conditions are that led to the flood, those identical conditions and the identical cause of those conditions are present today, which means that if those conditions, if that effect and the cause of the effect led to the flood back then which was the first death, then there's got to be a judgment now, because it's the same thing now, and there's got to be a judgment, and there is, and the judgment will be, what was it back then? It was max level wickedness. And so if it's the same today, not only is it the same with max level wickedness, but it's the same conditions and the same cause of the conditions, identical. And again, here we go again, max level wickedness and the exact same conditions and the exact same cause, max level wickedness, then there's got to be max level punishment today, in this time. Max level punishment in this day, in this time. And it is. Max level punishment, max level judgment from our Father Yahweh is a death, a quote unquote death. The first death was the flood, and the second death is by thermonuclear fire. So that was the highlight of the second half of that lesson series. But this is part 16 in this lesson series here, which I'm going to attempt to wrap up. I don't think I'll wrap it up tonight, but I'm going to attempt to wrap it up in the next couple of nights or so, subject to the Spirit. And you see the title there is End Time Biblical Prophecies and the End of the World. But the whole title is actually We Interrupt This Program Due to End Time Biblical Prophecies and the End of the World. And this is part 16. We've featured a bunch of clips. We've had 15 parts. We probably featured close to 10 video clips. I don't know for sure, because I took a little break to get into this lesson series here. So I can't remember, but we featured a bunch of video clips and touched on a bunch of things from the completely and totally geo-engineered winter storm that just swept across the heart of America, Babylon the Great, affecting hundreds of millions of Americans here, going all the way to the Third World War, okay, which is well underway and intensifying rapidly, and will, once it reaches its pinnacle, once it reaches its climax, will end in all-out thermonuclear war, which is the second death. That is the major, I won't say major, that's the second death, that all-out thermonuclear war, where all the thermonuclear missiles on the planet will be fired, will be shot, every last one of them, all right, of which, according to Revelation, the 9th chapter, there's hundreds of millions of thermonuclear warheads. Because if you haven't been paying attention, there's an arms race. They have way more nuclear warheads than they telling you, way more missiles than they telling you, and they're building them and they're building more and building them fast. Okay? The scriptures don't lie. Okay? So that second death, that thermonuclear destruction, that is the second death. That is the max level punishment, the max level judgment for the conditions and the cause of the conditions which are present on the earth today, which are identical to the conditions and the cause which were present on the earth during the time of the first death, which was by water. If you follow that, okay? We're at the end of this world. We're at the end of this age. This world is about to be destroyed by thermonuclear fire. That's the reason why the title of this lesson series, and that thermonuclear fire is the second death. That's the reason why the title of this lesson series is We Interrupt This Program. Due to the program that's being interrupted is, well, you could say it's your life. You could say it's business as usual. You could say it's everything that pertains to this world and how it operates. And when I say everything, I mean literally everything. Okay? And that's what I'm not going to get it, but 1 Peter 4:7 comes into play. But the end of all things pertaining to this current world system is at hand. It's here. Be ye therefore sober and watch unto prayer. Okay, and you can bring in Revelation 1 and 3. You can also bring in Ezekiel the 12th chapter, verses 21 and 28. 23 and 28 would be the point. You can start at 21, go all the way down. You can bring in 2nd Ezra the 9th chapter. You can bring in 2nd Ezra the 9th chapter is good, and other precepts as well. All with that same sense of urgency. Okay, telling you that the time is here. We in that time. It's now. Okay, Ezekiel the 7th chapter comes to mind as well. Many other precepts, I'm sure. Okay, those are just ones off the top of my head. So this is part 16. We've gone a lot of places. I don't think we'll finish tonight, but I want to give some commentary on this clip right here that I borrowed off of the Elder Apostle Tara's page, because I want to comment and point out a few things about what this heathen here was saying as he was bringing this information out. And the main point is the thing he said last. But I want to comment on some of the things he said before we get into some of these scriptures. We're going to get into the Isaiah 47, and we're going to go over to I would expect 2 Thessalonians 2, and we'll see what we get after that. Okay, and Yahweh Razah, this is edifying.
Some pretty wild stuff is taking place over in Iran. Yesterday, across multiple different major cities in the country, civilians gathered together to burn statues in what appears to be a giant ritual, or basically a message that they are trying to send to Israel and other countries across the Middle East. These statues that they are burning here are supposed to represent a biblical figure known as Baal, and more specifically Moloch, which for those of you guys that
right, because the wicked elites, those that run the world. Those that run the world, they serve pagan deities, the same pagan deities from antiquity. What the world doesn't understand, is that there's nothing new here. Okay, these are the same deities from biblical times, which, if you really understand, all times are biblical times, because what's the definition of biblical times? The definition of biblical times would be the times when things are happening in accordance with the Bible. And that's all time. Okay? Everything that's happening on planet Earth right now is in accordance with the scriptures. Okay? And we interrupt this program due to end time biblical prophecies and the end of the world. They're all being fulfilled right now. Okay? But people talking about, the pagan deities you read about in the scripture and whatnot. Okay? They worship those pagan deities now. Okay? And he also is going to mention Remphan, not Remphan. He's going to mention Moloch, and here that he's mentioning Baal, right? Because that's the idol that they fabricated over there in Iran, and then they burned them because the world knows that the elites that run the world, okay, the elites and their minions would be the ones that they put out in front, their politicians and whatnot. And they're tech billionaires and whatnot. Okay, the elites and those that run the world, they worship on the highest level. They worship the spiritual demon Satan, but then they also worship these other pagan deities as well, like Moloch, like Remphan, like Baal. Okay, they worship these pagan deities, and they initiate the masses into worshiping these deities as well, these idols as well. They initiate the masses. And if you ask me, that's part of what these Berenstain files getting released is. It's an initiation ritual. Okay? That's part of what it is. It's also a distraction. It's also cover. Okay? Because while the things that they're letting out is incriminating them, and incriminating them greatly, what the masses don't know is that the wickedness that they're doing and that they've done, let's just say are doing, because they ain't stopping, the wickedness that they're doing goes much, much, much deeper than what they're telling you. But when they tell you the things that they've told you, when they release what they've released, everybody just kind of assumes, because it's so horrible and it's so terrible, everybody just kind of assumes, well, that must just be it then. That's all. No, it's much, much deeper. So it keeps people from looking any further. So it's cover. It's cover for the true depths of the wickedness and the depravity that they engage in, and it's a distraction from the actions that they're taking to totally enslave the world, which is what we're going to be getting into. That's why we got to go to Genesis, the 27th chapter, and then stop in Habakkuk 2, and then go to Revelation 13. All right? And it's an initiation ritual, because as they've said, no one's going to get admission into the November whiskey order without swearing allegiance to Lucifer. But here, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. They understand who Lucifer truly is. While the world's going around thinking that Lucifer is the spiritual demon Satan, Lucifer is not a name, it's a title, and it means light bearer. And if you understand anything about the scriptures, there's a true light, and there's a true light, and there's a light in righteousness, and there's a light in darkness or wickedness. The scripture speaks about the light of the wicked being put out. So there are those that have a light, but the light that they have is wickedness, darkness. Okay? The light that they have is darkness. The light of wickedness is darkness. You know, if you want an actual, kind of like representation of it, think about a black light. You got somebody with a true light, and they come in the room and it illuminates everything, and you can see everything really clearly, and everything looks the way it's supposed to look. But then they leave, and it's assumed, for the sake of the illustration here, it's a completely dark, it's a completely enclosed room where no outside light gets in. So they leave. Now the room's pitch black, but then somebody else comes in and they have a black light, and they turn on that black light, and everything looks all weird and spooky and wicked. It looks all evil and demented. Well, that would be a representation of the light of the wicked. But that light is getting ready to be put out. See, when they say no one's going to get admission to the November whiskey, to the order, without swearing allegiance to Lucifer, the light bearer, they understand that the light bearer is them. They know that. They are Lucifer. Lucifer is not talking about the spiritual demon Satan. Lucifer is talking about his physical counterpart here on the earth. Just like Yahawashi HaMashiach, who the world ignorantly and incorrectly calls Jesus Christ, his true name is Yahawashi HaMashiach, the anointed. Just like he has a body here on the earth, a bride here on the earth, okay, which would be the church, which would be the called out assembly, which would be the elect men of the Lord, the 144,000, okay? All right, Yahawashi being the top angel on the right-hand side of the Father, okay? On the left-hand side of the Father, the top angel, which is the spiritual demon Satan, he has a counterpart here on earth as well. And that would be those who are truly, that would be those who are the true Lucifer. That would be, and to be specific about it, that's the biblical Edomites, okay? And the wicked elites that run this world, they are biblical. They are the biblical Edomites, and most of their minions are as well. But some of their minions are of the other nations, and some of the other nations are getting in on this pagan idolatrous worship as well, right? But the people who run this world, they are Satanists, man. Okay, and they engage in all kinds of depravity. Salaki, I kind of lost my train of thought. But let me just get back to what I was saying, though. All right? They understand that when they say no one's going to make it into the order without pledging allegiance to Lucifer, that means that you're going to pledge allegiance to them, right? That's what they're saying. Okay? Now, let me let them keep going here.
not kept up with biblical text. Basically, Moloch was a satanic figure from biblical times who was also a Canaanite, and he was a satanic figure that was directly involved with child sacrifice, where people would actually go,
which they are doing all around the world a lot. That's why we opened up with the Isaiah 47. They are worshiping these pagan deities, these pagan idolatrous deities, which are no deities, these pagan idols from antiquity. They are worshiping them today, and the world knows it. The world knows it. Okay? And they do it to get their power from the left-hand side so that they can get back their blessing that they lost in Genesis, the 27th chapter. This is the biblical Edomites we're talking about. Okay? And he mentioned the Star of David. There is, what Star of David? Okay? Show me that in the scriptures. I'll show you a star that it mentions in the scriptures, though. When we go to Acts, the 7th chapter, and the 43rd rather verse, this is the star. This is the so-called Star of David. It's no Star of David. It's actually an idolatrous, occultic symbol, satanic symbol. Okay, and they do worship Moloch, and they do worship Remphan, and they worship Baal. Yea, ye took up the tabernacle of Moloch, which Moloch requires child sacrifice, and oftentimes very young children. And the star, this is what they're referring to as the Star of David today, which goes into Saturn worship. And the star of your god, pagan god, idolatrous pagan god, Remphan. Okay? Figures which he made to worship them, and I will carry you away beyond Babylon. So this is that. So, you know, we don't have anything to do with that, man. That's the reason why the Israelis over there in the land of Israel, that's the reason why they have that on their flag, and they tell you it's the Star of David, but it's really the Star of Remphan. Okay? That's really what it is. And it goes into Saturn worship, which is why they have their what do you call it? Their Shabbat. They celebrate the Sabbath on Saturday, specifically Friday at sundown to Saturday at sundown. So the bulk of it falls on what the world will refer to as Saturday. And that's because they worship Saturn. They worship Saturn. And that goes into that. Okay? So that's what that six-pointed star is about, man. It's the Star of Remphan. All right? It's an occultic, satanic symbol.
Up and burn their children alive to sacrifice to the satanic god, and in return he was supposed to help them grow their agriculture and also bring storms and rain to the land. Now, of course, he was
right, and they're doing it today to get power from the left-hand side, demonic power from the left-hand side, to do what they're doing to basically to enslave the whole world and get their birthright back, their blessing back, so to speak. Okay? Because they lost it, and they know they lost it, and they're trying to get it back. Again, that's why we're going to go to Genesis 27. Okay? Because that's what this is all boiling down to. All the things that they are doing, all the as it says in 2nd Ezra 8 and 50, all the great miseries that they are doing, and like, for example, that geo-engineered storm, which a bunch of experts have gone on the record and told everybody that storm was not at all natural. It was geo-engineered. It was intentionally produced. Okay, whatever ways it was doing it, whether it was HARP or whether it was some other form, some other technology they have. A number of experts have gone, and I played one of them. I played a video clip featuring one of them, and he was going into how the weather modification technology has been around since I think like World War I, and the United Nations ratified a treaty back in the 70s. We're talking like, what's this, 50 years ago? 76 it was drafted, and 78 it was ratified that the nations wouldn't be using weather modification warfare against each other. Okay? All right, creating earthquakes, creating but if you can create an earthquake, you can create a tsunami, hurricanes, flooding, drought, all these things, man. Okay, so they had this ENDTIME treaty back in 78, ratified by the United Nations back in 1978, where these nations were agreeing not to use weather modification warfare against one another, and that was 50 years ago. They were doing beta testing. They were doing beta testing in World War II. They were doing beta testing. Okay, people need to basically just catch up, man, with the times. People think that that's conspiracy theory. No, it's acknowledged. It's acknowledged. All right, it's acknowledged by the government that they have these capabilities. Okay, they got patents and everything, man, for the ability to do these things. And if they were able to do these things 50 years ago, how much more so now? So these are the great miseries that are being done that the Bible speaks about to them that dwell on the earth in the latter days, because they've walked in great pride. Okay, all these things are telling you that we're at the end of this age. We're at the end of the world. All the end time biblical prophecies are being fulfilled. Okay, let me see. Let me back it up and let them go somewhere.
Directly involved with child sacrifice, where people would actually go up and burn their children alive to sacrifice to the satanic god, and in return he was supposed to help them grow their agriculture and also bring storms and rain to the land. Now, of course, he was a Canaanite, which means that he was a direct enemy of God. If you guys go based on,
I don't know, maybe he misspoke. He's a Canaanite deity, a Canaanite idol, pagan idol. Okay,
of the regular Bible text and scripture. And you guys can see in this video here, there is multiple different videos showing the Iranians actually burning this statue down. And this is due to the fact, and one thing that you guys will notice about this is on top of this figure being a direct reference to Baal and Marduk, you'll also see that they put the Star of David 666. And
again, that's the Star of Rumfan. It's an idolatrous, occultic, satanic symbol. There's nothing righteous about it. That's the reason why they use it. But then they tell the masses that it's the Star of David. Okay, that's just a lie they tell the world.
Of these statues that they actually burned down in the different cities across Iran, they also put pictures of Donald Trump, Jeffrey Epstein, and the Israeli flag. And this is because
that gets into that in Isaiah 47. We read it. Let me just pull it up real quick if I can. That gets into the it also in Habakkuk. So we're not going to go there tonight, but over in Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, like around the 15th verse, it talks about shameful spewing shall be upon thy glory. Okay. Let me see. Where is the because it was here as well. Salakia. Yeah, I don't see it. Okay, anyway, I'm not going to try and find it when I go down the road, but it talks about shame here in this chapter as well. All right, when we were opening up with it, I'm not going to try and find it because I'm going down the road. Okay. Let's see here. Now I am trying to find it, right? Let me see here. Anyway, yeah, I'm not going to try to find it. Let's let it roll.
And the Israeli flag. And this is because if you guys are not kept up with the newly released Epstein files that revealed tons of insane information, you would know that Epstein and all of the elites over in Israel that are basically pulling the strings around the world actually worship this satanic figure. Obviously, the Star of David is literally a direct reference to the 6-sided star that is directly in reference to the Star of David and the satanic beings, along with a lot of satanic rituals. But yeah, you guys can see that these videos are absolutely insane because these people literally came together. You can see the Israel flag and some of the pictures of Donald Trump over on the bottom, and they literally spray gasoline all over these statues and all just go together and watch them burn. And I'm pretty sure this is Iran's way of defying the state of Israel, all of the terror and stuff that they have caused over in the Middle East. And now that we know that Epstein...
Iran has gone on the record saying that this is basically denouncing the moral depravity of the West, the moral depravity and wickedness and Satanism of the West. So this, they specifically talked about the depravity, the wickedness, and the Satanism. So this was a direct shot. This wasn't just like, well, we're against the West, so we're gonna burn this. No, they're basically calling out the West for being Satanists and for being actually there was a quote, and when they went into a lot of the wicked things that they're doing, okay, child sacrifices, eating flesh, and all of that. Okay, so no, they got specific. It wasn't just, well, we're just gonna burn this because we're against the West. No, they got specific with it.
of Donald Trump over on the bottom, and they literally spray gasoline all over these statues and all just go together and watch them burn. And I'm pretty sure this is Iran's way of defying the state of Israel, all of the terror and stuff that they have caused over in the Middle East. And now that we know that Epstein and a lot of the Israelis and people connected to that elite pedophile ring, who obviously do satanic rituals, worship this god Baal because it's directly referenced many times in the newly released Epstein emails, they are now burning these statues because they realize how satanic and connected to evil they actually are, which I think is pretty...
The whole world sees this.
Insane. It's very interesting to me as well that over in the Middle East, after the Epstein files were released, they are now revolting.
By the way, that's what Isaiah 47 starts off with. That's the reason why it starts off this way. Come down and sit in the dust, O virgin daughter of Babylon, which is talking about America. However, who's in control of America, Babylon the Great? Esau, Edom. Esau, Edom, the biblical Edomites, the so-called white man, generally speaking. Okay? Front man for that would be DJ Trump. Okay? All right? So this is actually about the Edomites. First, this is talking about America, Babylon the Great. But as America, Babylon the Great goes down, that's like the capital city of their kingdom and their empire going down. The whole nation's gonna go down, and they're all wicked. They're all devils. They're all detestable, vile, despicable men, and their women are too. Okay, this is who they are. All right. So when it says, "O virgin daughter of Babylon, sit on the ground, there is no throne," this is talking about the destruction of America, Babylon the Great. "O daughter of the Chaldeans," which is, you should be able to tell that that's still talking about Babylon. Virgin daughter of Babylon, making it clear that it ain't ancient Babylon. And don't think that just because it doesn't say daughter of Babylon that it's talking about ancient Babylon. Sometimes when it says Babylon, it's talking about ancient Babylon. Sometimes it's not. You got to know when it is and when it's not. You got to have the understanding. Okay? But when it says daughter of Babylon, that makes it clear. Okay? For there thou shalt no more be called tender and delicate. Right. She's going down. Okay? She's going down. She's going down. And everybody's going to see her for what and who she is. Okay? Psalm 64 and 8. The second half of that verse says, all that see them shall flee away. Okay, in other words, they're going to see this man, Esau, Edom, for who and what he truly is, because since the Garden of Eden, he's been a fugitive and a vagabond since Genesis, the 4th chapter. And a fugitive and a vagabond, he's gone around presenting himself, he's gone around the world presenting himself as something that he's not. As someone that's benevolent, someone that's beneficial to be in league with, to partner up with, and he's nothing of the sort. And when people finally get around to seeing that and realizing that, they don't want nothing to do with them. Okay, and that's what and verses 2 and 3 is getting back into what he was saying about I can't remember what his words, but basically the whole world is seeing this, man. Take the millstone and grind meal, uncover thy locks, expose, you're exposed. Make bare the leg, okay? Everybody sees what you got under the skirt. Uncover the thigh, everybody sees, ew, that don't look good. Pass over the rivers. Passing over the rivers, when a woman passes over the river, she has to pull up her garment, she has to pull up her dress, and you see what she's got on underneath, and you see whatever's underneath, you see it, whereas otherwise you wouldn't see it. So this is all going into Esau, Edom, America, Babylon the Great, and Esau, Edom, because right along with America, Babylon the Great comes the West. So this is all going into America, Babylon the Great, and the West, Esau, Edom, being exposed. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered. Everybody sees him for who and what he is. And the more they see, the more they despise and hate him. Yea, thy shame shall be seen. That's the verse I was looking for. That's the shame. Okay? The whole world knows about the Bernstein files and the depravity that's in it. But what they don't realize is that's just scratching the surface. And even though it's just scratching the surface, the whole world is still appalled. I mean, not the West though. Okay? I will take vengeance. I will take vengeance and I will not meet thee as a man. That's talking about Yahweh Mashiach returning. Okay? When he returns, he's coming to destroy the Edomites and their kingdom and the kingdoms of the other heathen nations as well. Isaiah 63 and 1 on down, 2nd Ezra 13 started 1 on down, Revelation 19 and 11 go down to the end of the chapter. Also, you can bring with that the 110th Psalm, especially when you get towards the end of the psalm. Okay, Yahweh Shai Mashiach is going to fill the places with the dead bodies, according with the scriptures. Okay.
It's very interesting to me as well that over in the Middle East, after the Epstein files were released, they are now revolting and doing acts of defiance like this. But over in the West, in Mexico, the United States, Canada, and all the Western countries, they literally have done nothing. It's almost like the people are just so complacent that they're really not going to do anything about it or revolt or send any messages their way. But over in Iran and other countries in the Middle East, they are actively showing their acts of defiance by burning these statues, which are satanic. The only piece of information...
That's because, like I said, the vibration and the frequency and the ways of Esau Edom have completely and totally saturated and covered the West. And in addition to that, the world. However, that hold is strongest in the West. And that's with a lot of reasons, that's for a lot of reasons or through a lot of ways, right? That's the enchantments and whatnot. And like I said, part of their enchantments is these indoctrinations of the masses, mass indoctrinations. Okay, and they got a number of ways they do that, but they've done that so effectively that overall everybody's just eating up the details and gawking at it and gasping at it, but they're not going to do anything about it. They're not going to do anything about it. America Babylon the Great is done. America Babylon the Great is under the frequency and vibration of the biblical Edomites, and the biblical Edomites, they are the devil. They're a nation of devils. They are the devils that the Bible speaks of. You can say devil singular, or you can say devil plural. Okay, because you can refer to them in the singular and in the plural. The plural would be the Edomites. The singular would be Esau, Edom, the devil that the Bible speaks of. So you ain't really going to get any pushback, and that's getting into that video clip that I played in the other lesson series that has a thumbnail that says "Let them cook," and that's their hypocrisy. They're acting like they're appalled, but they're not. They're not, because nobody's going to do anything about it. And how many children have been going missing every year in America Babylon the Great for who knows how long, and nothing's been done? Now all of a sudden, everybody's all appalled and everybody's all concerned. Only thing is they're not, and that's the reason why nothing's happening. Okay? If something was going to be done about it, it would have been done a long time ago.
I'm not really sure about is why these statues were there in the first place. I'm not sure if Iranians maybe...
He should have did a little more research. Okay? The statues are there because they made them specifically for these rallies to burn them. And he doesn't know that, obviously. A little bit of research, they just get the information and they just go ahead and make a video, to get content and get views and get that money coming in. But they fire off half-cocked. Okay, a little bit of research, 5 minutes of research, you would have been able to figure that out. Okay, they fabricated them, they made them specifically for the rallies to burn them.
Thought they had different meanings up until recently when they saw that Epstein was directly connected to Monic and Ball, and they were actively sacrificing children to these satanic beings. But if you guys have any thoughts or theories, let me know down in the comments below. I just think it's absolutely insane. But you can see here is another image as well that showcases a little bit more clearly what is on this. So you can see it is a direct 1-to-1 ratio of what the satanic being Ball and Monic actually looked like, where it was a bullhead and has the 6-sided star that is directly referenced with Israel's flag. They have a picture of Donald Trump.
So the whole world knows, and they're exposed. They're exposed, and the whole world knows. And that goes into more proof that we're at the end. I'm going to let them finish, though, but that goes into more proof that we're at the end. That's 2 Thessalonians, the 2nd chapter.
Who is obviously connected to the Epstein files and connected to the satanic pedophile ring in some way, and they also put the United States flag as well, since if you've done your research, you would know that the United States is directly allied with Israel. It's basically the same thing. We basically send our taxes and do everything for Israel to begin with, so they are connecting all of this. They also put another 6-pointed star along with 666, which is satanic subliminal messaging, and yeah, it's just pretty wild seeing these videos. There's many different angles and a lot of footage. You guys can go and find it yourself. There was 2 different statues that were very identical. They ended up burning in these acts of of defiance and revolts yesterday, and I'm
Yeah, from what I understand, it was like every major city over in Iran, however many that is. Like I heard, for whatever reason, I'm thinking like 4 or 5 of them. Okay, 4 or 5 cities, they had these rallies and they burned these statues here, or these idols here.
if there is any more statues across any of the other major cities in Iran, they're probably going to burn those as well. But it's pretty wild that all of the civilians gathered together. This basically shows that they are behind Christianity and Islam, and they're trying to defy all the satanic power and acts that unfortunately has a grip over this world. So let me know what you guys think.
That's it. I'm going to let them say that again.
They're probably going to burn those as well. But it's pretty wild that all of the civilians gathered together. This basically shows that they are behind Christianity and Islam.
No, it's not showing that. It's showing that they're against the moral depravity of the West, specifically America, Babylon the Great, and which they refer to as the Great Satan, and Israel, the Israelis, which they refer to as the Little Satan. Okay, it doesn't mean they're for Christianity. All right, now they are for Muslims because they're Muslims, right? But it doesn't mean they're for Christianity. It means they're against the moral depravity of the West, and against the Great Satan, which they identify as America, and the lesser Satan, or the Little Satan, which they identify as the Israelis. Okay, they're the moral depravity of the West. They're calling out and the Satanism, the demonic practices, the moral depravity of the West. The Great Satan and the Little Satan leading the charge. That's what they're against. And they're trying to defy all the satanic power and acts that unfortunately has a grip over this world. So let me know what you guys think. Right, and they were chanting death to the Great Satan, but they referred to the Great Satan by name. I'm not going to say that for don't want to get the video flagged. And they also they were chanting death to the Great Satan, but they called it by name, and they were chanting death to the Little Satan, which they call by name as well. Okay? They're probably going to burn those as well. But it's pretty wild that all of the civilians gathered together. This basically shows that they are behind Christianity and Islam, and they're trying to defy all the satanic power and acts that unfortunately has a grip over this world. So let me know what you guys... Yeah, all the satanic powers and acts that unfortunately has a grip over this world. That is it. Which brings me back to what I was saying, how during the time of the flood, okay, the events leading up to the flood, the cause of the flood, the effects, the circumstances or the condition, the things that were taking place on the earth, and the cause of those things taking place on the earth are both present here today. Okay, and wickedness, in accordance with 2 Ezra 15:5-6, has exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and the hurtful works are fulfilled. Okay, that's it. That's the limit. It's to the max. It's to the brim. You can't get any more wickedness in this world. And going back to the flood, violence had filled the earth. Not just physical violence. The physical violence is just a byproduct or an effect of the greater violence, which is moral, ethical, and spiritual. And when you look the word for violence up in the blue letter, you get the meaning of the word in the Hebrew. It goes into moral and ethical violence as well as physical. The physical is a byproduct of the other. Okay? The physical always follows the spiritual. So spiritual, moral, and ethical violence filling the earth, which led to and was manifested in physical violence also filling the earth. Okay? And the thoughts and intents of all men's hearts everywhere was only evil continually. Only evil. Nothing but evil continually. Non-stop. Same conditions today. And that's what he just said, is that the I can't remember his wording. Let me let him say it again. They're probably going to burn those as well. But it's pretty wild that all of the civilians gathered together. This basically shows that they are behind Christianity and Islam, and they're trying to defy all the satanic power and acts that unfortunately has a grip over this world. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Satanic powers and acts have a grip over this whole world. And that's it. Satanic powers and acts have a grip over this whole world. What does that mean? That means the whole world is wicked. And why do satanic powers and acts have a grip over the whole world? Because the man who is in charge and in control of the world, he is satanic. He is actually Satan here on this earth, and he worships on the highest level the spiritual demon Satan. Okay, a lot of them will have interim demons that they worship, but really truly they're worshiping Satan. And the ones at the highest level, they know that, and that's who they worship directly, the spiritual demon Satan. And because that's the man who's in control, then that would answer the question as to why satanic acts and powers have a grip on the whole world. Because the man who's in charge and the man who's in control, he worships Satan. And therefore, the ways of Esau Edom have completely and totally polluted and saturated and corrupted the whole earth, just like during the time of the flood. And because the same thing is the same circumstances are true, the same circumstances are present on the earth, and due to the same cause, the Most High is going to bring the same magnitude of judgment, which is a death. Okay, first death by flood, by water, the flood by water. Second death by fire. That's the time we're in. That's the time we're in. And so let's go to 2 Thessalonians 2. Matter of fact, I'm going to pull over. Let me pull over, and we're going to go to 2 Thessalonians 2, and we're going to wrap it up there. All right, so I pulled over, but I also wanted to point out one more thing from the Isaiah 47 before we went over to 2 Thessalonians 2. And like I said, this links up very, very directly and very, very closely with Revelation 18. But I wanted to show you this because the whole world is seeing this. The whole world is seeing that the biblical Edomites who are in control of the world today, especially the elites and their minions, the minions being the ones that they put in front of the world, in front of the television cameras and whatnot, the ones that you see, they all worship Satan and other lesser demons, okay? And that's how they get their power to do the things that they're doing to enslave the whole world, okay? Going back to the Genesis 27, which links up to Revelation 13, and Habakkuk 2 will get on the way. Stand now with thine enchantments, okay? Stand now with thine enchantments, this word enchantments. Okay? There you go. A magician. In other words, someone who operates in the supernatural realm, originating from the left-hand side, which would be demons and angels. Demons are angels on the left-hand side. All right, the word demon just literally means intelligence, right? But angels on the left-hand side that operate in wickedness. For example, I'm just going to show it to you, okay? Because people may not be familiar with the concept of the left-hand side and the right-hand side of the Father. 1 Kings, 22 and like 19? Yes. And I'm just going to show it to you. You can read the rest of it on your own. You would start at 19, go down to verse 22 there. But it says here, well, you kind of got to read the whole thing, so we'll read it. And he said, Hear thou therefore the word of Yahweh. I saw Yahweh sitting on his throne, and all the host of heaven standing by him on his right hand and on his left. And this is a prophet speaking. And the kings of Israel said unto Jehoshaphat, Did I not tell thee that he would prophesy? No, let me got to back up here. Let me see here. Yeah, the question was, I just want to show you that it's a prophet speaking. Okay? Because he had requested for a prophet. Let me see here. Anyway, you can read up. It's the prophet Micaiah who's speaking. And he says here in verse 14, and Micaiah said, As Yahweh liveth, what Yahweh saith unto me, that will I speak. So that's who's speaking here, and this is what he says. And he said, Hear thou therefore the word of Yahweh. I saw Yahweh sitting on his throne. He saw this vision, and all the hosts of heaven standing by him on his right hand and on his left. And Yahweh said, who shall, now that's not arbitrary, okay? The host of heaven on the right, that's because they belong on the right hand side. They don't go to the left. The hosts of heaven on the left, that's because they belong on the left hand side. They don't go to the right. Yeah, the top angel on the left hand side is Hashatan. The top angel on the right hand side is Yahushai. And Yahweh said, who shall persuade Ahab that he may go up and fall at Ramoth Gilead? And one said on this manner, and another said on that manner. So there was a hubbub amongst the hosts of heaven. Okay, they were saying, someone was saying, well, I could do this, and others were saying, well, I think this is a great idea. I think this will work. And there came forth a spirit and stood before Yahweh and said, I will persuade him. So this spirit here, he showed more enthusiasm and initiative, and he just went and stood before the Most High Yahweh and said, I'll do it. I'll get it done. And Yahweh said unto him, wherewith? Meaning, how you going to do it? What do you think? What are you planning? What are you thinking? What are you intending to do? And he, the spirit, said, I will go forth, and I will be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. See? So, is lying righteous, or is lying evil and wicked? Okay? Is it right to lie? Is it good? Is it righteous to lie? Or is it unrighteous? It's unrighteous. So obviously, clearly, this spirit was on the left-hand side. Okay? I will be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets. And he said, he referring to the Most High Yahweh, thou shalt persuade him. The Most High said, you're gonna succeed. Okay? Thou shalt persuade him and prevail also. You know, if you do that, it's going to work. It's going to succeed. Go forth and do so. The Most High ordered him to do it. The Most High sanctioned him. The Most High gave him permission. The Most High signed off on that. Go ahead and do that. Be a lying spirit in the mouth of all his prophets, showing you that the Most High controls good and evil. And the angels on the left-hand side, they operate in wickedness or evil. And the angels on the right-hand side, they operate in righteousness. Okay, and this is one of the places that you'll see that clearly. Okay, so going back over here, so they operate with they deal with the angels on the left-hand side, and that's how they get their power to do what they're doing now, to enslave the whole world and ultimately put a radio frequency ID micro C to the hip in everybody, which is the Revelation 13 badge, verses 16 through 18. That's why we're going to end with that. That's what this is all boiling down to for them. They're trying to get that done so that they can rule the world forever. That's their plan. Never going to work. Never going to work. Okay? So they're being mocked here by the Heavenly Father. Stand now with thine enchantments, all your magical, your left-hand side activity. Okay? Which they do have demonic power from the left-hand side. They do have that. Okay? Magician, charmer, spell, witchcraft, divination, fortune telling, going all the way back to the garden. Okay? So this is saying, hey, keep doing it. It's got you this far. Don't stop now. And with a multitude of thy sorceries, sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. You've been doing this all along. Look how far it's got you. Keep going now. Don't stop. If so be, thou shalt be able to profit. If so be, thou mayest prevail. Hey, just keep doing it. You know, let's see. You might actually make it. You might actually succeed. Never going to happen. This is mockery. This is mockery. And verse 13 makes that plain. Thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. Yeah, those that specialize in these left-hand side activities, you know, let them stand up and save you. And they ain't going to do it. In other words, it's kind of like the prophets of Baal when Elijah was mocking them, and they were cutting themselves because Baal wasn't answering, and they were cutting themselves and whatnot, and they were chanting harder and harder. They were doing everything they were doing. They were doing it harder and harder, more and more, and they were wearying themselves and even cutting them. They were wearying themselves and even cutting themselves, but it wasn't working. And that's what that's the mocking that's being done here. Keep doing it. It's got you this far. And keep on and keep on and keep on. Look at you. Now you all weary, now you all tired, and it ain't working. And that's it, because it ain't working like it used to work anymore. Okay? And so I wanted to point that out because this ties into the fact that they worship these idols and these demonic entities on the left-hand side, and on the highest level, they worship Satan. Okay? That's what it's pointing to. Okay? But it's all going to fail them in the end. It's already failing them. They're having to do more and more and more, and they're getting less and less return on it. And ultimately, they're going to be left to fall flat on their face. Okay, let's go to 2 Thessalonians 2. 2 Thessalonians 2. Okay, straight to the point. Okay, this is another one of the ways you know we're at the end. Let no man deceive you by any means. A lot of deception, a lot of confusion, a lot of darkness. Isaiah the 60th chapter, verses 1 and 2, and also 2nd Ezra the 16th chapter. I want to say in the 18th verse. Is that right? Let's see here. Not the 18th verse. The 21st verse. Behold, victuals shall be so good cheap upon earth that they shall think themselves to be in good case, and even then shall evils grow upon earth. This is the time we're in. Sword. Okay, all manner of violent death. Famine. Okay, and there's multiple ways for a famine to come. A famine can come because there's no food around or very little food, but it can also be because the food is priced out of reach. Okay, inflation, hyperinflation, which you have both of those. Okay, pressure from above and pressure from below. The wicked elites, they like that. They like to do it like that. Okay, and this is what we came for: great confusion. Okay, tying up with the Isaiah 60 verse 2, 1 and 2. Okay, so here we go. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day, the day of the Lord, the day of Yahweh Ba'Shem Shah, shall not come, except, meaning the end of this age, except there come a falling away first. Okay, which is talking about us departing from our heritage. It's talking about us not even knowing who we were, being kicked out of the land of Israel, having everything stripped of us that makes us a nation, and even losing our very identity, which that's already done. And we're now at the end of the awakening. Okay, so we're well past that, and we're deep into the recovery, which is the great awakening. Okay, which only the elect are going to truly wake up, right? Okay, but the point I'm making is that's already in the books. Okay, that happened starting in 70 AD. All right. And now we're in the time of the Great Awakening, and the Great Awakening is just about a wrap. So that's already done, because what you're finding out from this verse is that there's two things that need to happen before the day of the Lord. Okay. Not that when they happen, the day of the Lord is immediately right then, but now you're in the time of the day of the Lord occurring. And one of them is us falling away from our heritage. You can put this with Jeremiah 17 and 4. And that man, here's the second thing that needs to happen. And that man, this is the one we're focusing on, of sin, that man, singular, of sin, be revealed. Okay? And that's what's happening. He's revealed worldwide. This ties up with verse 9 as well. 9 and 8 and 9. Okay? The son of perdition. And the son of perdition, the man of sin, is Esau Edom, which links up with Romans the 9th chapter. Okay. Where it says this, I just want to get straight to the point. Let me see here. Trying to find. It must be further down. Salakia. Here it is. Yep. Here it is. What if the Most High, willing to show his wrath and to make his power known, verse 22, endured with much long suffering the vessels of wrath fitted, meaning created to be, or created for destruction. And the NLT gets that right. Who are destined for destruction. That's what it means to be the son of perdition. And who's this talking about? Well, it's talking about Jacob and Esau. So it's got to be, one of these is Jacob and one of these is Esau. Okay. Well, we know from up here that Jacob, he loved, and Esau, he hated, right? As it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. So do you think that the one that's loved is the vessels of wrath fitted to destruction, or the one that's hated? Well, that would be the one that's hated. See what the vessels of wrath fitted to destruction, that's Esau, singular. But Esau is a whole nation, plural. Okay? So the vessels of wrath fitted to destruction is Esau. Okay? That's who it is. They can be referred to in the singular or the plural, just as we can be referred to in the singular or the plural. Jacob is a name of our forefather. Okay? But it's so when we're referred to as Jacob, we're being referred to in the singular, but the singular is actually plural because it's talking about the whole nation. Okay? And then you get to 22. 22 is the verse we were just dealing with. And then you get to 23. That's us. That's Jacob. And that he might make known the riches of his glory on the vessels of mercy, which he had afore prepared unto glory. So verse 22 is Esau, the son of perdition, the man of sin, Esau, who is a whole nation. Esau is Edom. Esau equals Edom. Thus dwelt Esau in Mount Seir. Esau is Edom. Genesis 36:8. Okay? And then in verse 23, that's us, the Israelites, referred to as Jacob. Okay? So this man of sin is Esau, and he is revealed. And he's revealed for being the depraved, vile man that he is. He's revealed for being the Satan worshiper that he is. He's revealed for all manner of debauchery that he's engaged. He's revealed. He's exposed. The whole world sees it. So both of the conditions required for the day of Yahweh Shem Shah have been met. Verse 4, and we're going to wrap it. Who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. That's the reason why that wording over there in Isaiah 47 was where it says that saith, I am, right? Let's look at that again. Actually, we can just hit the back button, I think. There you go. Which one of the verses was it? Slakia. I'm having a hard time finding things tonight. Let's see here. Where is that, man? There it is, verse 8. Therefore hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures, that dwellest carelessly, that sayest in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. See, that speech there that is extremely proud, and only the Most High speaks like that, man. I am, and none else beside me. Okay, the Most High speaks like that. Let me give you an example. What is it? I think one of the places is Isaiah 45. Yeah, here's one of the places. I am Yahweh, and there is none else. There is no God or power beside me. I girded thee, though thou hast not known me. Another place is Joel 2. I think in 29 or let me see here. '27. Okay. And ye shall know that I am in the midst of Israel, and that I am Yahweh your God, your power and none else. Okay? I am Yahweh, your power, and none else. And my people shall never be ashamed. We are his people, and no other nation. Okay? So Esau Edom in his pride, okay, exalting himself above all that is called God, okay, he's speaking like this: I am and none else beside me. Only the Most High talks like that, man. See? And that's the reason why the next thing that's said here is that those two things that he says not going to happen, they're coming upon him in a moment, in one day. That ties directly into Revelation 18, and they're coming upon him in their perfection, meaning to the maximum degree. Let me see here. Getting ready to wrap it up. Where's 2 Thessalonians? We'll just go back this way. Who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God, or that is worshipped, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. So basically, Esau Edom is trying to get rulership he has rulership of the earth, but he's trying to solidify it and make it permanent and rule the earth as God here on the earth, and he worships Satan. Okay? That's it. Because that's what we're going to have on the other side, on the flip side. We're gonna be gods here on this earth underneath the Yahweh Shah HaMashiach. Yahweh Shah HaMashiach is going to be the top Israelite ruling in the kingdom of heaven here on the earth, the top Israelite ruling in the kingdom of heaven, and we're going to be gods here on this earth, all to the glory of the Most High Yahweh. And he's trying to get that on the left-hand side, with them being gods here on this earth under Hashatan. They don't even realize that Hashatan is worshiping, that Hashatan, the spiritual demon Satan, is working for the Most High. They don't even realize that. Okay? But that's what they're trying to get. They're trying to get the left-hand side version of what we're going to get in righteousness. It's never going to work. Never going to work. Okay? But that's what they're trying to do. They want to rule as gods here on this earth underneath the Hashatan, and all the nations of the earth are serving them and worshiping them as the gods here on this earth, and they're under Hashatan. That's what they're trying to do. And it's never going to work. All right? So we're at the end. Okay? All of the things, the same things that was going on during the time of the flood, where the ways of Esau Edom had saturated and polluted the whole earth, that's the case now. And just like back then, the Most High destroyed the world. Back then it was with water, though. Now he's getting ready to destroy the world again, but this time it's going to be by fire. And when I say destroy the world, you should understand that doesn't mean that the earth itself is going to be destroyed, because the earth survived the first flood. The earth survived the first death, and it's going to survive the second death. But it was dramatically changed as a result of the first death, and the earth is going to be rocked as a result of the second death. All right? So these are the things that are about to take place on planet Earth. All right? About to take place. So if you're an Israelite, if your lineage, your heritage, your bloodline through your fathers goes back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, okay, no matter what you look like, even if you don't look like a so-called black, Latino, Hispanic, Native American, or Seminole Indian, you need to repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. All right, which you're going to need to do is believe this gospel message that you hear me preaching to you now. Okay, call on the names Yahweh and Yahweh Shai. Call on the name of Yahweh in the name of Yahweh Shai, because Yahweh Shai is the only begotten Son. He's the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by him. So you're going to call on Yahweh in the name of Yahweh Shai, Hamashiach, Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai. You're going to believe this gospel message, and you're going to bring forth fruits, meet for repentance, which means righteous works to prove that your faith is real, because faith without works is dead. To prove that your faith is real, to prove that your faith is alive. Which, if you believe this gospel message, then that means it's born out of faith. That faith leads you to believe, the belief leads you to fear, and the fear will lead you to obey. So really, it all boils down to faith. Okay? Because if you have that faith, you're going to believe. If you believe, you're going to fear. If you fear, you're going to obey. And that's your fruits meet for repentance. That's your righteous works to prove and validate that your faith is real, to perfect your faith. And that leads you to salvation, because you need faith and works. Okay? 2nd Ezra, the 9th chapter, and James, the 2nd chapter. Okay? So repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. There's not much time left. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Before I do, I want to give all glory, honor, and praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shaba, Recha HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Much peace, love, and respect to the brothers teaching and pushing this truth out the four corners of the earth. Adawan Radazaz, lest was edifying and encouraging to you, Achim, and any Achwaf that may be listening and or watching. Ayash Me'akwana, Azanyim Lashemai Shemai. Let him who has ears to hear, hear. Kwam Yasharala, Baba Kwasha, Abai Baba Etha, Wakal Adawam. Shalom Lahabachayim, peace to the elect. Shalom.